So much at stake in match 63 of this year's IPL. Mumbai Indians and Lucknow Super Giants enter this contest 3v4. They'd like to stay there, if not move higher up, as we are into the final week of the league phase of the tournament. On Visit Saudi presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Time. Gee, we need to pull out the big guns for this one, and we have. It's a very good evening to Ian Bishop and Tom Moody. I don't remember the last time I was with Tom in studio. It's been a long time, hasn't it?
You've missed me, have you?
I have.
That's nice.
It seems more by accident than by design.
Nice for you to come in.
Excellent. Bish?
Hi.
We'll bring you in once we're done with our nonsense.
I thought this love affair was going to go on for a much longer time.
Love is a strong word there. Yeah. But I'll tell you what else has been a really long time coming. A win at home for Lucknow. They haven't won at the Ekana Stadium since the 7th of April. Seems like an eternity ago. They did manage to split a point, which could be a crucial point against the Super Kings. This is their last home game, and this is a surface that has had us talking about it more than any other surface. So all the prizes go to Lucknow for the amount the pitch has generated conversation. And on that day, after a pitch report, Tom, that we heard saying it's a batting first sort of surface, which we've seen successful for a number of teams, Mumbai Indians have won it, and they will bowl. What does that give you? What's your first thought and sentiment after the team winning the toss, or the captain winning the toss, has chosen to chase?
I think that's more based around Mumbai's strength. You know, they clearly feel their strength is with their batting, and they'll chase whatever it is, whether it's a high number or what we've seen more often than not, like now, a lowish number. We only had the one game that there was a score over a 190, and the rest have been sluggish wickets that have been a real arm wrestle between bat and ball. So in a way, in saying that, I'd always rather have runs on the board, because I always find runs chasing on those types of surfaces are always harder to chase down.
I wonder if Mumbai had chased in the last game against Gujarat, Bish, whether that would have given them any more confidence to say, yeah, we're not a bad team batting first either, because that set them on a different level, beating the Titans, coming off these 200 plus scores, batting first or second, especially at the Wankhede. They are flying. Do you expect that sort of form can play into their hands as they go to a difficult, the most difficult pitch in the IPL this year, or is it almost a bit of too much of a culture shock or a difference in circumstances for them to fire today?
No, I think from my experience in the game, I'm always wary of, if you've bowled well on a nice juicy track and you get to a flat one, that you don't apply the principles required, or from a batting perspective, you go from a really flat one where you've been scoring to one that does a bit, you have to recalibrate your game. So that's the challenge of every team going from ground to ground in the IPL historically. So you'd hope that these teams, I know for a fact that you look at LSG, and their home batting form versus their away batting form is chalk and cheese. Their home bowling form for the spinners versus away is chalk and cheese. It's been that challenging a surface. So they're back on the red soil today. So I think, like the guys that did the pitch report, like Rohit, you're going to have to see how it goes.
I can't remember if there were other red soil games at Lucknow, Tom, but we definitely know was the opening game we saw here, where Mark Wood made that impact against the Delhi Capitals, and they got 193 there. Now, if they had some say in which surface they'd like to play this Mumbai Indians team on the back of what's happened, is red soil and even batting conditions for all the way to go?
I absolutely, for the structure of Lucknow's side, but whether it's the right surface to play against Mumbai is another conversation. What it's done is derailed their strength, and that is their batting prowess. They've got a side that that have got a lot of stroke makers. They bought Nicholas Pooran at a very handsome price in the auction to strengthen that middle order, to strike at a high strike rate, which he's done away from home but hasn't had the success at home. But I think that Lucknow boast a better spin attack than what Mumbai does. So therefore, I would be quite comfortable if I was Lucknow, having had the experience of playing on that surface a few times and hopefully learnt a few lessons how to navigate an innings with the bat a little bit better than what they have done in the past, back their spinners and back that experience with the batters to a Mumbai side that are coming there for the first time.
Yep, and as we know that the rest of the league is watching this closely, points table will tell you what's at stake Mumbai win, they go to 16, they could possibly finish with 18, and it's not a bad fixture to have to close out. At the Wankhede against the Sunrisers, who are out of it, that could seal a top 2 spot for them. And you think they have the backing of Bangalore, Rajasthan, Kolkata and Punjab, all of whom would be hoping that Mumbai beat Lucknow, they stay on 13, and that gives them a better chance to squeeze into the top 4 with just the 14 points and net run rate to play. So that's one way of looking at it. The other way for Lucknow is they could get as many as 17 if they beat Mumbai today and get the points against Kolkata on the final weekend. So there is a lot that's riding on this game. Can we expect this to? I know it's a question that I say for later in the show, but I just feel it. We haven't quite had the...
You're peaking early.
Yeah. Like the Rajasthan Royals. Yeah. Can we expect a high-stakes poker game today? Almost the kind of game that seems like both teams, with lots riding on. We didn't get that yesterday. We got some upsets on the weekend. We didn't really see the kind of games that I think we'd like to see when there's so much at stake, when the playoffs are so close. Is this giving you the inkling that it could happen today?
Oh, there's no doubt there's a huge amount of pressure on this game because both teams know the serious consequences of being on the wrong side of it. And as you quite rightly pointed out, there's going to be a lot of other eyeballs watching this game, looking at their fate. What are you calling for, a super over?
I just want a high-stakes game. Like we need that. Do you sense we've had that yet? I remember the Rajasthan-Gujarat game. It kept us, the standard kept us intrigued.
What concerns me is the surface.
Yes.
I think it's hard to have a high-stakes game when you have a poor surface where you can't have a decent balance between bat and ball. I like the batters being challenged against ball, but I don't like it to the point where the batters can't put away poor bowling.
All right. Do you have any thought on the kind of game we'll get today?
No.
No, excellent. Then let me ask you something more pertinent. Pace versus spin at Lucknow is one way to approach this. Now remember, red soil, make what you want of it. We have seen some real scrappers at the Ekana Stadium, but we've also seen an average of 20 and 19. So there have been paces that have found a way. Economy is a lot better for spin. Strike rate's not bad for either. And they split the wickets evenly between them. It's no surprise, perhaps, that Ritik Shokeen makes a comeback to this Mumbai Indians side. Kartikeya Kumar goes out. So they've added the off-spinner Bish, which I guess could be seen on predicted lines.
Yeah, against the left-handers in the LSG lineup. So, you hope for a young man coming back into the team because Kartikeya wasn't bowling badly. In fact, he had a couple of games at the Wankhede which were tough schools to be operating in, and I thought he passed the test on both occasions. So it has to be a matchup situation for him, young cricketer, and you wish him all the best in what you say is the high-stakes game.
Almost made it sound like it's a silly thing that I said.
No, right. Why do you look at the negative?
Right.
You said it. I didn't want to steal your thunder. I'm giving you the credit for the statement. High-stakes game.
Wow. Okay. Thank you, Bish.
Wow.
Young player, something Bish said, and I'm curious with that because I've seen a good moment inside bring in Jayant Yadav for this kind of game, or other sides pick a seasoned spinner for a specific matchup like this. Ritik Shokeen is young. He last played on the 11th of April. Is it a fair punt to bring in a young player off the bench when he's been there so long for such a big game like this?
Well, in a high-stakes game, it's always going to be a big decision, isn't it? So I don't think they've got the option because they need someone to turn the ball away from the left-handers. So I think it's the right decision, and you've got to trust and back the players that you've invested in from the beginning of the tournament. He was part of their early campaign with a few games, and there's no reason why he can't step into this contest and not do well because he's clearly got the skills and he's bowled well in the past, but he's found himself out of their side more to do with, I think it was during the phase when they were losing and trying to find the right formula, and they hadn't found that.
Can you talk to me a bit about how you manage these sorts of players? Do you tell them just on the eve of this game, looking at where we are, all right, there are lots of left-handers here, this is a big game, so we're going to play you, or is that something you've got to manage right through the conversation where, we left you out, but at some point you might come in, and does that sort of really have the impact on a young player?
Well, to give you an example, we used Mohammad Nabi in a similar way at Sunrisers. We got him at the auction based on pure match-up situations because we knew that he was a quality player, but we knew that he was a very good bowler to left-handers, and we wanted to have that option to be able to have the flexibility to use him in partnership with Rashid Khan against the left-handers, and he'd always give us that depth with his batting capabilities. So I'd be very surprised if the management at Mumbai Indians haven't sort of communicated that through the season with Shokeen as a young player, getting him to work, specifically bowling to left-handers, knowing that this is our fixtures. More likely, it may happen before, but more likely this is going to be an entry point for you. You're going to probably play against Lucknow, particularly the way we're seeing they're structuring, their side with Quinton de Kock back into the side, the surface that Lucknow is producing. So let's build towards that. So it wouldn't have been a sort of a tap on the shoulder this morning and saying, listen, you're playing today. I would have thought he would have known for a number of days that this was one that he's going to be playing in.
All right, fair enough. Let's just give you some insight on this Lucknow ground. You know it already that it's the worst ground for batting this IPL. If you look at just different surfaces, we've had challenging surfaces in Jaipur occasionally at the Chepauk, but run scoring has been really hard. Now, we did get a 193, remember, in the opening game that Lucknow played here. That was a victory against Delhi, but the run rate is at 7.1. Lucknow also have, either by force or choice, gone with an all-Indian seam attack, but we have seen bowlers like Naveen Haq do well over here. Mumbai have Behrendorff and Chris Jordan, who seem to find roles playing on that pacey wicket at the Wankhede. Can they be effective here, those two bowlers?
Well, you can. I think Chris CJ Jordan has got enough experience now to know when to take pace off the ball. And that's where Naveen Haq has been good, in that he's been able to operate on a surface bowling cutters of different kinds, bowling his wide Yorker, changes of pace. So I think that's a principle of what will happen there. Behrendorff, again, if the pitch plays anything like, will find the swing maybe a little bit harder to come by, but time will tell. The one thing about Shokeen, the one upside is for all those stats that you named there, being the harder ground to score on. So if you're going to come back into the team in a high-stakes game, at least you're on a pitch that is offering you some margin for error. If you bowl that, I don't want to put the curse on him and he'll go for 60 off 2 or something, but because it's so slow, it's not like with Chinnaswamy or the Wankhede where if you miss your length, you're gone every ball.
Yes, Tom.
I find it interesting just around Mumbai and their overseas selection, the 8 they've gone with, and there's a number of I would consider surplus players that aren't really going to fit into their side. Brevis, Stubbs. Maybe not Stubbs because he's an automatic exchange or option for Tim David. Janssen is another one. I'm wondering whether they're thinking today, wow, if we had the option, would we have our time? If we had our time again, would we have gone with a Zampa or an international quality spinner at base price? So when we do come up to these, different situations, we've got actually a high quality spinner to partner Chawla, and he's bowled out of his skin this season. He bowled exceptionally well. Yeah. But imagine if it's a Mujib, for instance, who's not even here in this IPL. Sure. In that side, it's a better looking side, isn't it?
And the option was there. They could have gone 100%. For him. So if you remember the auction dynamics, it seemed like Mumbai was set on Piyush Chawla's return, and the young spinners they played towards the end of the disappointing season they had in 2022. Right, it's something for them to consider. As it turns out, it's their batting that's kept them in this, and you'd think Lucknow would therefore make a change or two to have their best possible bowling lineup, and they brought in Naveen Haq back. Kyle Mayers has been dropped, which is the other big story of this, for a team that allowed or persisted with Mayers on form over de Kock, and rightly so. As we approach the last 2 games of the league stage, they've made this change. I'm looking at 4 overseas names, so don't worry about this being, and of course they are batting first, so this is their batting first 11. No Mayers, and Naveen Haq is back. Mohsin Khan is back. Swapnil Singh is back, who bowled just the 1 over of left arm spin a couple of games ago, and Deepak Hooda returns as well. It's a lot of changes, but let's start with the big one: the exclusion of Kyle Mayers and the inclusion of Naveen Haq. Tom,
I like the decision. It's a very tough decision. Kyle Mears had a very good tournament. He's gone a little bit quiet of recent, but on this surface, in these conditions against Mumbai Indians, I think Naveen is a really important inclusion because he's a high-quality bowler and high-quality defensive bowler. So if they're needing someone that has got the skills to be able to get it into the block hole, bowl with a good change of pace, he's certainly a man. It's a tough call, but that's the IPL. You know, you only allow 4 overseas players, and there's been plenty of tough calls. And just ask Quinton de Kock. He was sitting in the dugout for a month. But I think, as tough as it is, I think they've got that right. They've got the balance right.
Kyle Mears' recent form, if you just put it up for a player who started so well in his first 8 games, now you can always make the line to suit an argument. And if you make that first 8 versus last 4, it doesn't make for pretty reading for Mears. Is this Bish more about we have to play Naveen and now we'll just find the most viable overseas option to exclude? And Mears just happens to find himself at 4 between de Kock, Stoinis, Pooran and Mears.
Because Quinton's come back and he's got 99 runs in 2 innings. So he's averaging 40 odd. So I think it's the timing. And Naveen was on the unlucky side because when Naveen got left out, he'd just come from a game in which he bowled exceedingly well. I think up there at Lucknow.
Yes.
So if it strengthens their bowling, Avish Khan is playing musical chairs in and out of the 11. I don't know if there's an injury thing there. Carl will be unlucky. He'd be unlucky. But I'm going to, you know what I'm going to do? Something I never do on television. I'm going to assess it for a little bit longer and then come back to it at the half. So
you're going to sit on the fence?
No, I'm not going to sit on the fence. I'm going to get off the fence.
Don't look at it.
But I want to give a considered opinion and I don't jump to hot takes.
Are you saying that's what he does then?
Again, I don't jump to hot takes.
All right. Excellent. I'm a little worried, while I totally get the point of... you need to see that again, what Tom Moody just did. I'm not just laughing. Do it again, Tom. Do it for the camera.
It was like hot takes. It's like he's burnt my fingers there. I was just giving my opinion, and I stand by it.
He smashed you there, didn't he?
Yeah, unbelievable.
No, come on.
That's 3 bouncers in one answer.
Yeah, no, he's been no-balled.
Yeah, all right.
Intimidating.
Aren't you happy you're closer to me than you have been on other days? Let me go back to what I was going to ask then. I totally take the point. Why you'd bring in a bowler that strengthens your bowling against arguably the league's best batting lineup? But what does it make for the look of your own batting at the top of the order? Let's just have a look at that Lucknow team one more time. Prerak Mankad got runs. You could say held the innings together, since we don't like the word anchor, but he held it together in that chase against the Sunrisers. Their likely impact sub, well, this is a batting first team, so they'll get a bowler in, Tom, whoever that may be. But does Deepak Hooda open now? Does Prerak Mankad just open for a guy who doesn't actually bat in the top order in domestic cricket? Or do you have any other options there in the form of Badoni or Marcus Stoinis?
They might look at Badoni because he's in some really good form. They promoted him up the order to position at three on, I think, 2 occasions.
Yes. And
he got a half century on one of those occasions. And it might be a better use of their resources because they've still got the finishing quality of Stoinis and Pooran and Pandya there. So it's nearly a little bit like a traffic jam in that sort of middle order. So to take full advantage of his form, he might get the nod.
Given the new ball will be taken by Berendorf, Bish, I know we'll get the answer in a bit, so we can always go back to it in about 5-6 minutes. But who would you like to see walk out with Quinton de Kock? Would it be an Indian player? Would you be tempted to throw one of the big guns up front in form of Marcus Stoinis, who has a history of opening the batting?
I think Stoinis has given them some good quality work in that last game where Pooran came in. Stoinis also played well at that number 4 position, got 40 from 25. So I'm reluctant to sort of disturb that, although I know Marcus can bat up top. I'd be curious to see where they bat Hooda, because he's had a poor season so far, coming in at 3. Badoni's a guy who played a half century there against CSK that was out of this world and is a really good touch. So I'm not sure I would want to trust Hooda there given his poor form. That's
a good point he brings up. Let's talk about Hooda next, who as a seasoned Indian international has had a poor season, as Bish says, and has now been shuffled in and out of the game. missed the last one, played before that, missed the last one, and played before that until they finally dropped him. What sort of confidence would he be having going into this? It's a big game after all, Tom.
He'd be low in confidence, but I'm just, as you were asking that question, I was thinking to myself, if I was Deepak Hooda and I was playing this game, where would I like to bat? I'd be running out to open the batting with Quinton de Kock, because when you're in that position, when you're out of form, you want to bat in the best spot. And opening is the best spot in T20 cricket, because yes, you've got the challenge of a potential little bit of movement in the first couple of overs, but then it sort of ceases. You've got field, restrictions with only 2 out. That's the way I'd be thinking. So if I was Deepak Hooda, I'd welcome the invitation to open. Not sure whether he will or not, but it'd certainly be harder for him to come in that middle order and start against the spin bowling and a pace that's slowing down than it would be to bat in the power play.
All right. What do you sense is the template to batting first for Lucknow now, whose recent successes have come chasing with some good scores by Nicholas Pooran? They did have a run of games where they did not win. You have to go all the way back to that crazy game where they got the 250-plus score against Punjab, and that was their last win before the Hyderabad game over the weekend, on a ground which hasn't been easy to score, and a lot of players that rely on boundaries. Nicholas Pooran, we look at him too, very high boundary percentage. But they're batting first now. What do you sense is the template today?
Well, I think in many cricketing dressing rooms, there's 2 things that you talk about, and that is, number 1, assess the conditions, and number 2, communication. And that is always talked about. So I think they need to assess the conditions. Let's don't take it for granted that it's going to be a scrappy 130, 140 surface. It may well be that 190 surface. Let's give it a chance, work out what it is, communicate very quickly to your on-field partner. What are you feeling? Is the ball coming on? Is it stopping a bit? Is it swinging? Is it seaming? All that type of stuff. And as soon as you can, you get that communication off the field. So the players in the dugout have an understanding, right, okay, this is what it is. Let's try to get to this point. Let's rethink, our batting plan.
Yeah, I was going to give you some time to, since you like the time, to give me your answer on who you expect opening.
No, I'm not going there. You know who it is.
Oh, come on. I gave you the chance. Yeah.
You want me to fall on my sword.
No. All right. Deepak Hooda has opened. So well done, Tom, on that. Yeah. And you can see the merit, or is this a gamble that may backfire? What if Hooda gets stuck? What if he doesn't get you off with the kind of season he's at?
Well, it's going to play out for itself. It doesn't make any sense spurring conjecture on it. We're going to see it live and direct here for the next few minutes.
What do you think will happen? That's where we have you. Come on.
No.
Do you think he'll have a good game, Hooda?
He wouldn't have been my bet.
Very good. That's what I want.
Who would have?
I would have put Bodoni up.
Okay.
Maybe we'll have a chat for a couple of balls and see if that move has worked or not.
He might be off it.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, gets better. We don't hope for it.
I'm not questioning Tom again. last time I have a different view from you. But that's my view.
Let's move to Mumbai quickly as the first ball comes our way in this big one. A couple of changes that we did mention. Ritik Shokeen is in. There was one more change I think that was mentioned at the toss. Yeah, Vishnu Vinod played in the last game. You can expect him to come in as the impact sub, given there is no Tilak Verma still in this team. It's a shame that, because Tilak Verma was seriously adding to the strength of this Mumbai attack. They've done all right with Vadera and Vishnu Vinod last game, Tom, but I guess they just have to make do without Tilak Verma.
Well, Vadera's done brilliantly well. It's nearly been seamless change, hasn't he? He's scored runs consistently. But it's just a shame that such an exciting talent's out. I believe he's got some sort of back or side issue that's keeping him on the sidelines at the moment. Let's hope that rectifies itself and he gets himself back into that side, because he's lit up the IPL this year. Yeah,
Akash Madhwal will start. He was the impact sub in the last game, had an excellent game. It makes a difference when you've got 200 plus when you bowl, even if you are this Mumbai bowling attack, which has been under some scrutiny from the start of this season. Jason Behrendorff has new ball in hand. Deepak Hooda has taken strike, opening the batting with Quinton de Kock against his former franchise. There is so much at stake in this game. Let's get a first innings prediction from Tom Moody and Ian Bishop. And I will go to Bish first.
No.
Yes, I will. Come on, Bish. You've seen one ball. That's all you need.
165.
165. Tom.
153.
Oh. 200.
No, not today. No, it's not going to be a 200 day for me today. I'm going to go in between you two so that I'm safe either way. So what's 153 and 165? 12 at 6, 159. Let's leave it there. I don't know what sort of score that is, but you guys have to answer that question. Big thank you to Ian Bishop and Tom Moody. This is going to be a good one. Let's hope it is. Let's hope it's a close one. Join us at halftime on Visit Saudi Presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Timeout. Check out the mobile app and keep having a look at that points table, which includes remaining fixtures and the run of form for all these teams that are vying for those crucial 4 playoff spots. We'll see you at the end of the Lucknow innings.